right, so here's the job house getting ready to sell. This door is in bad shape. You can see the flex there because what they did when they installed this, because the opening is only 80 inches tall, and you need a 81 3/4 at least to put in a door. So what they did when they put this in is they took off the threshold, shoved the door in there, and then put the threshold back in and put it in backwards, by the way. So we're gonna replace the brick mold, repair the center there so it doesn't have that flex, and probably end up tap conning the threshold back down, and then we're gonna put some faux shiplap on the side here and inside so we can eliminate this cat door here. All right, so you can see I cut about 12 to 18 inches up of the rotted part. I hadn't planned on it, but ended up taking out the whole threshold here, so now the bottom of the door is completely loose. Hadn't planned on that, but had to get it all cleaned out, otherwise this wouldn't work. So now I'm going to reattach the threshold to the concrete and then the door to the threshold. All right, so definitely not an ideal situation here, but had to get that threshold reattached to the concrete. So used some tap guns, had to run it through the top of the threshold to secure that. So now we're just gonna try to make this look a little bit better. All right, so here's where we're at. Spliced in a piece for the rotted area. It's a 2x4 with a piece of 1/4 inch over top of it to match up with the engine 3/4 profile of that. All this is going to be covered up, so it doesn't really matter what's in it. So once it's going to be covered in PVC and caulked in, so it won't ever see any water. Had the opportunity to put some 3.5 inch screws in through the front to catch the back, and now the door is solid. You see the gap here on this side because the door's kind of rusted out. There again, all this is going to be covered up to look nice and repainted. You won't ever see the screw holes or anything like that. The main thing is this door is solid now. So we're going to replace the brick molding on the surround and start trimming this up with the 1/4 inch PVC. It's actually closer to 3/8. And basically we're going to make it look like it's practically brand new. All right, so next step, I have these 3/8 inch PVC planks to sell at Home Depot. They are 5 3/4 wide by 8 foot. It's a little thicker than I wanted, but they don't have 1/4 inch PVC in 8 foot lengths. They have it in 2x4 sheets or 3/4, of course. But what I've done is ripped it down to the distance. I'm actually going to cover this gap here where some insulation will end up being on the inside. We're just going to glue this and cover this up so there's no sanding. It's also going to cover the patch at the bottom. All right, so that side's glued and nailed in. You can see how nice and smooth everything is now. So now we're just going to do the other side, and then we'll put a piece on the front to cover the edges. We'll kind of round that over a little bit, make a nicer profile. We'll cover all this up. You can see now the middle stile here fully wrapped in the PVC. Need to sand down a little bit, and of course we'll do some caulking. There's a ways to go yet, and probably trim around the perimeter of the inside of this fixed panel here. But you can see it's a great improvement so far. All right, you can see I got the fixed side covered in the PVC. Then cut a short piece to cover the front here. Once everything's caulked up and sanded and nail holes are filled, it'll all look like one cohesive piece. Don't necessarily need to add one at the top because the paint's not flaking off, but I may go ahead and do that anyway because The way they had to shove this door in here created a bow because there's not a true header inside, so you can see inside. So I'm going to probably add maybe a piece of 3/4 across the here, so I would have to do the same thing. It'll also kind of hide that bow as well, so that's the next step. All right, skipped ahead a bit here. So we've got all the sides and the fronts trimmed out, so all the original wood except for the threshold here should get ready to work on. This cover is going to be covering that big gap there because there's problems with the door, but once it's all done, you'll never know. Had a pretty good drop here, probably about 1 inch, so I had to rip one side to the other to make a nice even top profile. And it's covering, like I said, once it's all caulked in, you'll never notice that. So like I said, getting ready to cover this threshold piece with some of that PVC to try to make it look more normal, I guess would be the right word. So taking a little break from the door here, working on the side panel, just covering up this stuff. It's not completely rotten, but the paint's flaking off, so just ripping down some 1/4 inch plywood, putting a bevel on it, and we'll caulk inside there, and once it's all painted, we'll give the appearance of full width shiplap, and won't have to worry about scraping paint and trying to repaint all that. Inexpensive way to dress it up. Alright, so I haven't been a very good teacher on this job. I kind of got caught up in the work and didn't turn the camera on, so now I'm going to do a walkthrough with the door all finished and just kind of point out some things. Try to be more instructional in the next video, but if there's one thing that somebody learns on this video about how to repair a door that's pretty much ready for the scrap heap and bring it back to life, then this was worth the time. So let me give you a quick walkthrough. All right, so here is the faux shiplap, which is just 1/4 inch plywood that I put a chamfer on to make it look like it's got the gap there. That went straight over the existing material rather than scrape that and try to make something decent out of that. So just put that plywood on there with glue, nails, staples, etc. Just kind of framed it in this PVC just to make sure it stays in place. Use the existing wood rather than pull it off. Just kind of met up to that. Put a sweep on the bottom of the door to try to keep some of the water out, because this whole setup here is kind of set up to fail, so we're trying to work against the water. Used cement all to fill in the gap underneath the threshold, keep the water out. You see this huge gutter here that they put in when they poured the driveway, and it leads down to that port there for some of the water from the roof and from the driveway to go out. So let's focus in on the door here. So we use that 3/8 inch PVC and just wrapped all of the old wood. So now it's siliconed in. Had to do a little bit of extra down here to cover gaps in the door and etc. And also so it would shed water. Just like I said, use that PVC all the way around. There was about 1 inch drop from left to right, so just rip that piece to make it level, meet up with the bottom of the house. And just painted it up. Used Sherwin-Williams water-based alkyd paint on there. It's indoor, outdoor. Lays down great. So I think it turned out pretty good. It's definitely an upgrade as to what it looked like before. Hopefully somebody will use something from this video to do a repair for themselves or somebody else. Thanks for watching.